When I was looking for my late wife's necklace, the only thing I had left of her, my daughter coldly announced, "The necklace has been sold." I needed the money for a vacation. Shocked by her betrayal, I called the pawn shop to get it back. They told me, "Sir, you won't believe what we found when we opened the locket on the pendant." This secret revealed the truth about my family. Before continuing, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I was standing in my bedroom, staring at the empty velvet box, my hands trembling against the open drawer. The box lay there like an accusation. Its cream interior was bare, holding nothing but the ghost of what should have been there. Helen's necklace. The gold chain with the heart locket she had worn every day for 40 years. Gone. Downstairs, Samantha's voice cut through the morning air, snapping orders about breakfast. Mike's laughter boomed from the living room. Some sports commentator yelling underneath. Mia's phone conversation drifted up the stairs. Complaints about being stuck here, about how boring the city was, about wanting to go back to the coast already. Today was Helen's birthday, 3 years since she had passed away, and I had planned to spend the morning alone with that necklace. The only piece of her I had left that somehow still felt warm. Instead, I faced this hollow box and the chaos of my family, who treated my house like their personal hotel. I pulled the drawer out completely, dumping socks onto the bed. Nothing. I got down on my knees. I checked underneath the dresser. Dust and an old receipt. My chest tightened. I moved to the closet, patting the pockets of coats, checking shoe boxes on the shelf. My breathing sped up. The bathroom. Next, I ripped open the medicine cabinet. I pulled out the drawers underneath the sink. Cotton swabs scattered across the tiled floor. Where was it? Where was it? I checked impossible places. The nightstand drawer I had already searched twice, behind the headboard, under the mattress. My hands were shaking harder now. That steady tremor of panic I hadn't felt since the hospital. Since those last hours with Helen, when nothing I did could stop what was coming. 42 years of marriage. And that necklace was all I had kept. Her clothes, donated, her books, given to the library, her garden tools, rusting in the shed because I couldn't bear to use them. But the necklace that I kept in her box, safe, untouched, except on days like today when I needed to remember her face. I walked downstairs, every step deliberate. In the living room, Mike was sprawled on my sofa, feet on the armrest. A bag of chips balanced on his chest. He didn't look up. I stepped over Mia's shopping bags, clustered near the stairs. I circled the coffee table that she had pushed out of place. Samantha was standing at the kitchen counter, phone in one hand, knife in the other, chopping vegetables with aggressive precision. Clack, clack, clack. "Samantha," I said. "Have you seen—" "I'm busy, Dad." She didn't look up. "It's important. Helen's necklace. Check your room. You probably forgot where you put it." The knife kept hitting the cutting board. Clack, clack. "I checked my room already," I said, struggling to keep my voice level. "I've checked everywhere. The necklace is gone." She sighed. That particular exhale she had perfected over the last 3 years since they moved in. The one that said I was an inconvenience. A burden she had graciously agreed to bear. "No one wants your old things, Dad. It was your mother's." I felt a knot in my throat. The only thing I kept. "Then you should have been more careful with it." I stood there, watching her chop celery into small, violent pieces. And something in my chest turned cold. Not hot anger. Cold. Like the temperature dropping before a storm. "Samantha, please." I forced myself to say it softly. I need to know what happened to it. She finally stopped. She put down the knife. She turned to look at me, and her eyes held no warmth at all. They hadn't in years, really. But I had been fooling myself, hadn't I? Telling myself this was still my daughter, Helen's daughter. The girl who used to bring us dandelions from the yard. Fine, she said. I sold it. At the Desert Gold pawn shop, down on Main Street. The words made no sense at first. Sold. My daughter sold Helen's necklace. You... what? We needed $800 for the beach vacation. You said no when I asked you. So I found another way. Her voice held no apology, no acknowledgement that she had done anything wrong. She picked up the knife again, resumed chopping. From the living room, Mike's voice floated in, lazy and satisfied. It was just sitting there. Robert, Helen's gone now. The dead don't need jewelry. He didn't even sit up to say it. He kept his eyes on the television, scratched his stomach, grabbed another handful of chips. The casual nature of it, somehow, made it worse than if he had been angry. Combative. This was simply obvious to him. Of course they had sold it. Why wouldn't they? On the stairs, Mia laughed. That bright, empty sound of someone who finds genuine pain hilarious. Grandpa, you're being dramatic. It's just a necklace. Mom got us an amazing vacation. I looked at her. Really looked at her. 23 years old. Helen's granddaughter. And she had the same empty eyes as her mother. When had that happened? Or had I simply refused to see it? Your grandmother wore that every single day for 40 years, I said quietly. Mia shrugged. She was already turning away, phone back to her ear. Well, now someone else can wear it. Circle of life or whatever. I stood in my kitchen. My kitchen. In the house Helen and I had bought in 1985. The house we had filled with 42 years of memories. And I looked at these three people. My daughter, her husband, her daughter. They looked back at me with the collective expression of people waiting for an inconvenience to remove itself. I turned and walked back toward my bedroom. I closed the door behind me with a soft click. I sat on the edge of the bed. The empty velvet box was on the dresser where I had left it. I picked it up. I opened it. I closed it. Opened it again. Closed it. The mechanical motion calmed something in me. Or maybe it wasn't calm. Maybe it was something entirely different. My hands had stopped shaking. I sat there for a long time, the box resting on my knees, and I felt something shift inside my chest, not breaking. I had broken 3 years ago when Helen died. This was different. This was a settling, a hardening, a clarity I hadn't possessed an hour ago. They had sold Helen's necklace for a vacation. Samantha had entered my private bedroom, my private drawer. She had taken the only thing I treasured and traded it for spending money. And Mike and Mia saw nothing wrong with it. Nothing at all. I stood up. I placed the box carefully back on the dresser, and I picked up my phone from the nightstand. My hand remained steady as I opened the browser and typed, "Pawn shops in the city." My finger hovered over the phone screen, scrolling through the list of pawn shops scattered across town. The empty velvet box lay beside me on the bed, a small square witness to what I was about to do. My hand no longer shook. That surprised me more than anything else this morning. I started calling. The first shop, Lucky Star Pawn, didn't have it. The woman who answered sounded bored. The second shop, Express Cash, put me on hold for 6 minutes before telling me no. The third had permanently closed. The fourth didn't answer. I sat on my bed for every call, describing the necklace the same way each time. Gold chain, heart locket, inscription inside that reads, "For always, R.H., 14 karat, bought yesterday probably." Each time I thanked them politely and moved to the next number. Samantha's voice occasionally drifted up from downstairs, giving orders to someone. Mike's sports commentators provided a constant background murmur. I ignored it all. The sixth call was different. Desert Gold Pawn. Robert speaking. "I'm looking for a gold necklace with a heart locket," I said. "It was sold to you yesterday." A pause. "Oh, yes. I remember that piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Are you the husband?" My chest tightened. "I am. My wife passed away 3 years ago." "I'm very sorry to hear that. Sir, there's something you need to know about that locket." I sat up straight. "What do you mean?" "When I was examining it, the locket sprung open. There was a tiny note inside." The room tilted slightly. "A note?" "That's right. I didn't know it opened. I carefully pulled it out. Didn't want to damage it. It has numbers written on it. Something about a bank. 40 years. 40 years of marriage. And I had never known the locket opened. Helen had worn it against her skin every single day. And I had never thought to look for a clasp. Never tried to open it. "Did you tell the woman who sold it?" I asked. "She was already gone. Honestly, I'm not sure she knew the locket opened either. She seemed to be in a hurry." Of course she had been. Samantha rushing to convert my wife's jewelry into vacation money. She probably hadn't even looked closely at it, only saw gold and dollar signs. "I need to buy it back," I said. "How much?" I gave her $800. The fair value is closer to $1,200. It's 14 karat gold, and the craftsmanship is exceptional. I'll pay the $1,200. "Can I come get it today?" "Come whenever you like before 6. I'll hold it for you." "And sir?" He paused. "I won't resell this to anyone else. It's yours." I thanked him. I jotted down the address and sat for a moment staring at the phone in my hand. Helen had hidden something in that locket. A note with bank information. What else hadn't she told me? I stood up, tucked my wallet and keys into my pocket, and walked downstairs. The family didn't look up as I walked through the living room. Mike's feet were still claiming the sofa. Mia hunched over her phone on the love seat. Samantha, somewhere in the back of the house. I walked out the front door into the November sun. The drive downtown took 30 minutes. I programmed the address into my phone's GPS and followed the calm voice through familiar streets that became strange with purpose. Strip malls, auto shops, and the occasional palm tree. The city sprawling flat and beige in every direction. Desert gold. The store occupied a corner spot between a nail salon and a tax preparation office. Bars on the windows, but clean bars. A neat sign. I parked across the street and sat for a moment, hands on the wheel, steeling myself. Inside, the shop smelled of old leather and metal polish. Glass display cases lined the walls, filled with jewelry, watches, and cameras. A small man, about 50, stood behind the counter. Neatly trimmed gray hair, reading glasses perched on his nose. "Mr. Robert?" he asked. "That's me." "Are you Robert?" He extended his hand, and I shook it. "Let me get your necklace." He disappeared into a back room and returned carrying a small bundle wrapped in a soft cloth. He carefully unfolded it onto the counter. And there it was. Helen's necklace. The gold catching the fluorescent light, looking exactly as I remembered it. Looking the way it did against her collarbone every morning for 4 decades. "The young woman who sold it," Robert said quietly, "in her early 40s. She seemed to be in a rush, didn't want to negotiate. I gave her $800 because that's fair for the weight. but I knew immediately it was worth more. He paused. Was she your daughter? I didn't answer that. I simply pulled out my wallet and counted out $1,200 in bills. Robert already had the paperwork ready. He slid a small envelope across the counter. The note, he said. I put it in here for safekeeping. Thank you, I managed to say. Take care of it this time, he said gently. I drove 3 blocks before I had to pull over. My hands were shaking again, the emotion flooding me now that the task was complete and I was alone. I parked in a strip mall lot, the truck facing the afternoon sun streaming onto the windshield. The necklace felt heavier than I remembered. I held it up to the light, turning it slowly, looking for the clasp Robert had mentioned. There, so tiny I had never noticed it before. A slight indentation on the side of the heart I pressed with my thumbnail. The locket sprang open. Inside, impossibly tightly rolled, a scrap of paper no bigger than my pinky nail. I used my fingernails to coax it out. I carefully unrolled it onto my thigh. Helen's handwriting, microscopic but unmistakable. Central Bank, box number 4782. I sat in my truck staring at those words until the sun moved and the glare on the windshield became too intense. Helen had a safe deposit box at the Central Bank, box number 4782, and she had never told me. I drove home in a daze, parked in the driveway, walked past my family still planted in their same positions, like permanent fixtures, and went upstairs to my bedroom. I stood by the window, watching the sun sink toward the horizon, the necklace clutched in one hand, the note in the other. What had Helen hidden from me, and why? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, turning the questions over and over. The necklace on my chest, where Helen used to wear it, feeling the slight weight of the gold, wondering what other secrets she had kept. Morning came slowly. I showered, got dressed in my good dress pants and a button-down shirt, and drove downtown to the Central Bank main branch on the avenue. The building stood 10 stories tall, glass and steel. Intimidating. I walked through the revolving door into a marble lobby that echoed with quiet conversations and click of heels. A young woman at the information desk looked up with a professional smile. Her name tag read, Laura. I need access to a safe deposit box, I said. Of course. Do you have the box number and your ID? I showed her Helen's death certificate. I had brought it. Some instinct told me I would need it, and my driver's license. Laura examined both carefully. I'll need to see your ID and your wife's death certificate. Are you listed as the surviving spouse? Yes. Married 42 years. She typed information into her computer, nodding. The box was last opened in 2019, 6 years ago. No activity since then. 2019. Helen had been diagnosed in early 2022. She had prepared this 3 years before she got sick, before either of us knew what was coming. My wife passed away in 2022, I said. She must have set this up ahead of time. Laura's professional mask softened slightly. Take all the time you need in the private room, Mr. Robert. I'll walk you through the process. She led me through a heavy door into a vault room. Walls of metal drawers, each with 2 locks. Laura used her key and the box number to pull out a long metal container. She handed it to me, heavier than I expected, and guided me to a small, windowless room with a table and chair. I'll be right outside when you're finished, she said quietly, and closed the door. I sat alone, the metal box on the table in front of me, and couldn't bring myself to open it. My hands rested on either side of it, feeling the cold metal, and I thought of Helen, 6 years ago, coming to this same room, putting something inside this box, locking it away without telling me. Finally, I lifted the lid, stacks of cash. $100 bills in envelopes, organized with rubber bands. I did a quick count. $20,000 at least, maybe more. And underneath it all, a sealed envelope. My name in Helen's neat handwriting. Robert. I picked up the letter. I held it against my chest with my eyes closed. She had known. Somehow she had known something was wrong. She knew I would need this. She knew Samantha would. My hands found the envelope seal. I carefully broke it. I unfolded the paper inside. My fingers carefully broke the seal, the paper crackling in the silence of the private room. I unfolded 2 pages covered in Helen's handwriting. That neat, restrained script I had seen on grocery lists and birthday cards for 42 years. My breath grew shallow as I started to read. My dearest Robert, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you have found what I hid. The first line hit me like a physical blow. Her voice came through so clearly I could almost hear it. That slight rasp she had developed in her 50s. The way she paused between thoughts. I saved this money over 30 years. Small amounts from every paycheck you never noticed. Don't be angry with me for the secret. I did it because I love you, and I know what is coming. I read faster, my hands shaking against the edge of the table. Samantha has always been difficult. Do you remember when she was 25 and demanded we pay for her wedding? And then didn't invite your brother because he couldn't afford an expensive gift? I saw her true nature then. The way she treats people like transactions. The way nothing is ever enough. I did remember. Helen had been upset for weeks, but I had dismissed it as normal wedding stress. Mother-daughter tension. I had made excuses for Samantha. When I am gone, she will see you as nothing more than a resource to be depleted. Mike will encourage her. He has always been a user. You know it, even if you don't say it. And Mia learns from her parents. I am sorry to write these things, but you need to hear them. I clenched my jaw. Helen had tried to warn me subtly over the years. Little comments I had ignored as overly critical. Like a mother being too hard on her daughter. But she had seen clearly what I had refused to acknowledge. These savings are for you, my dear. $27,000. To protect you when you finally see what I saw. Don't let them make you a victim. You are stronger than you know. Be strong. Live for yourself, the house, the money, all of it. It is yours. You worked for it. Don't let them take it from you out of guilt or obligation. I stopped reading. I pressed the letter against my chest. 27,000. Plus what was in the box. I had counted quickly, estimated over 20,000 more. Helen had saved almost $50,000 without me knowing. How had I not noticed? All those years of her working night shifts at the hospital, taking overtime, and I had thought it was just her dedication to nursing. The final paragraph. I wish I could be there to protect you, but I trust you will know what to do when the time comes. You have always been thoughtful, methodical, careful. Use those strengths now. Do not be stepped on, and know that I love you more than anything in this world. Forever yours, Helen. I sat in that small room and reread certain passages. The wedding incident, the warning about Mike, the instructions to be strong. Every word felt like a validation I didn't know I desperately needed. Helen had seen it all, understood it all, and prepared for this moment. I folded the letter with precision. I put it in my jacket pocket, over my heart. The cash stayed in the box, too much to carry safely, and I wasn't yet sure what I would do with it. I stood up, tucked in the chair, opened the door. Laura looked up from her desk. Are you finished, Mr. Robert? Yes, thank you for your help. You're welcome. If you need to access the box again, just call ahead. I walked through the marble lobby, my footsteps echoing outside. The late afternoon sunlight hit me like a wall, harsh and unyielding. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, staring straight through the windshield at the concrete wall of the parking garage across the street. Not really seeing it. Helen always having my back. Even now, even from beyond. I touched the necklace underneath my shirt, felt the warm metal against my skin. The drive home was on autopilot. Traffic lights, turn signals, lane merges. At a red light on the central avenue, I pressed the palm of my hand against the letter in my pocket. A horn honked behind me. The light had turned green. I pulled forward, my mind processing everything I had read. The house looked different when I pulled into the driveway. I stared through the front window before getting out. Samantha on the sofa, feet tucked underneath her, phone glued to her ear, laughing at something. Mike sprawled in my recliner, Helen's 30th anniversary gift to me. The brown leather worn into the shape of my body. Mia at the kitchen table, nail polish bottles scattered, cotton balls everywhere. Painting her nails a bright pink. My house, my space, occupied like conquered territory. I walked inside. No one looked up. Samantha was the first to notice the necklace. The chain was visible at my neck where I had tucked it inside my shirt. Her eyes locked on it, and her expression hardened. "Is that Mom's necklace? You got it back." I touched it protectively. "Yes." She stood up, put down her phone. "Give it to me. We sold it. That makes it ours now. You can't just take it back." "I bought it back. I paid $1,200. Her face flushed. "With whose money? You live on a fixed pension. That's our inheritance you're wasting." Our inheritance. As if I was already dead. As if everything I owned already belonged to them. Mike got up from the recliner. He walked closer. "Samantha's right. You're spending money that should be going to the family. It was my wife's necklace. Your dead wife's." He said it casually, as if commenting on the weather. "You need to get over it, Robert. Face reality." Reality? Yes. You're old. This house is too big for you anyway. Sign it over to us now. Save us all the trouble later." I looked at him. Really looked at him. I saw the calculation in his eyes. The thinly veiled greed. He wasn't even pretending anymore. None of them were. From the table, Mia chimed in without looking up from her nails. "Grandpa, you're being selfish. Mom and Dad need security. They're living here rent-free. That's what family does. We take care of each other." "Is that what this is?" I asked quietly. "Taking care?" No one answered that. Samantha crossed her arms. Mike's jaw worked as if he wanted to say more. Mia blew on her wet nails. I walked to my bedroom and closed the door. The soft click of the latch felt definitive somehow. I sat on the bed. I pulled out Helen's letter, unfolded it, reread the final paragraph. "Be strong. Live for yourself." I placed the letter carefully in my nightstand drawer. From my desk, I took a yellow legal pad and a pen. I sat at the desk Helen had bought at an estate sale years ago. The surface scarred and solid. At the top of the first page, I wrote, "March 17, actions taken." Below that, I started a list. The first bullet point, 1. Document everything. I woke up before dawn on March 18th. The legal pad on my nightstand full of notes from the night before. I had spent hours after the confrontation thinking, planning, writing. My engineering background coming back. Identify the problem. Gather data. Develop solutions. Execute systematically. I dressed silently in the darkness. The house lay quiet around me. my family still sleeping off their evening of television and complaining. I moved through the hallway like a ghost, every step deliberate and soft. In the living room, I photographed Mike's belongings scattered everywhere. Work boots by the door. He didn't work. Jacket tossed over the arm of the sofa. Remotes, chip bags, beer cans on the end table. My coffee table pushed 3 feet from where it should be to accommodate his sprawl. The bathroom. Next. Mia's makeup covered every inch of the counter. Foundation bottles, lipsticks, eyeshadow palettes, brushes standing in cups. I photographed it all. The guest room Helen had used for her crafts now served as Samantha's closet. I opened the door. I saw racks of clothes, shoes lined against the wall. I photographed that too. In the kitchen, I opened the refrigerator. Every item bought by me. I pulled the receipt from my wallet, $243 of groceries from 3 days ago. I photographed the food, then the receipt next to it. The utility bill was on the counter, $287. My name at the top, never reimbursed. I photographed that too. Back in my bedroom by 6:30 in the morning, I transferred the photos to my laptop. I created folders organized by date and category. This would be my evidence. Undeniable. Documented. Over the next 2 weeks, I became methodical about it. I went through my filing cabinet, pulled out documents I had kept organized for years. The deed to the house, purchased in 1985, paid off in 2018, in my name alone. Property tax records, all current, all paid by me. Utility bills from the last 3 years, all showing 0 contributions from Samantha's family. On March 25th, when they were all out for the day, Samantha at her part-time dental office job, Mike supposedly job-seeking, Mia meeting friends, I installed the camera. I had carefully researched local law, single-party consent to record, my house, my right to secure it. I had found a camera system online that disguised itself as a smoke detector. I ordered it with 2-day shipping. Installation took an hour. I watched a tutorial on my laptop twice. Then, carefully, I removed the old smoke detector in the corner of the living room. The new unit looked identical, but contained a barely visible, wide-angle camera lens behind the white plastic grate. I mounted it, tested the connection on my phone. Perfect view of the sofa, the kitchen entrance, most of the main floor. I felt no guilt. This was my home, my property. They had forfeited any expectation of privacy the moment they started plotting how to take it all from me. The recordings proved valuable quickly. By March 29th, I had hours of footage. That evening, I sat at my bedroom desk. Door closed, laptop open, watching. Samantha's voice was clearly audible. I can't believe he spent $1,200 on that necklace. That's our money. Mike, from the sofa. He's being selfish. Old people get like that. When this house is ours, the first thing I'm doing is remodeling. This place is stuck in 1985. We might not have to wait long. He's what? 67 years old? How many years does he really have left? I saved the clip, labeled it carefully. Evidence 329, Inheritance Discussion MP4. Another clip from April 1st showed Mia on the phone with a friend, sitting on the stairs. My grandpa is such a pain. He got all weird because my mom sold some old necklace. The friend's voice faint. Why did she sell it? We needed money for the vacation. He wouldn't give it to us, so Mom handled it. Honestly, I'll be glad when this house is ours and we don't have to deal with his drama. My face remained impassive as I watched. I saved the clip, added it to the growing folder. The financial forensic analysis took longer. I pulled 3 years of bank statements, spread them across my desk. I created a spreadsheet. Every loan to Mike went into the document with dates and amounts. $500 for car repairs in May of 2022. $1,200 for a dental emergency in August of 2022. $2,000 for an investment opportunity in November of 2022. And so on. Month after month, I added formulas. I watched the total climb. By the time I finished, the number at the bottom read $18,500. The actual repayment column contained nothing but zeros. I printed the spreadsheet, added it to my evidence folder. I found Samantha's credit card statements mixed in with my mail. She had been using my address without asking. The vacation trip detailed clearly $4,200, including flights, hotel, excursions, plus the $800 from the sale of Helen's necklace. By early April, my folder had grown thick with documentation, photographs, video, financial records, property deeds, all organized with tabs and labels. I sat at my desk one evening. The folder opened before me, and I knew it was time. I picked up my phone, searched Elder Law Attorney City. Patricia Morales' practice came up third in the results, protecting the rights of seniors. Experienced elder law attorney. I called the next morning. Her receptionist scheduled me for April 3rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The downtown office building stood 12 stories tall, glass and steel reflecting the desert sky. I parked in the garage, took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Patricia Morales' name on a glass door. Neat reception area with leather chairs and law journals on an end table. The receptionist led me to Patricia's office. She stood up to greet me. 50s, a streak of gray in her dark, pulled-back hair, business suit, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She shook my hand firmly. She gestured to a chair across from her organized desk. "Mr. Robert, tell me what's going on." I placed my folder of evidence on her desk. My daughter and her family have been living in my house for 3 years. They pay no rent and contribute nothing to expenses. They have been financially exploiting me and are waiting for me to die so they can take everything. Patricia's expression did not change. She opened the folder, began reviewing the documents. She took notes on her own legal pad, asked questions sharply and efficiently. "Do they pay anything for household expenses?" "No." "Have you asked them to leave?" "Not formally." "Good. We'll do this properly. All documented, all legal." She continued reviewing the folder, watching video clips on my laptop, examining the spreadsheet, reading the property deeds. 20 minutes of silence save for her occasional questions. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Robert, this documentation is excellent. Very thorough. How long has your daughter's family lived there?" 3 years since my wife passed away. "And they have never paid rent, utilities, or contributed to household expenses?" "Not $1. Samantha says family doesn't charge family." Patricia nodded, writing, "Did you invite them to live there permanently, or was it supposed to be temporary?" "Temporary, just until they found a place. That was 3 years ago." She put down her pen, clasped her hands. "Under the law, they are tenants at will. You can establish rental terms at any time. And if they refuse to pay, then we have grounds for eviction. But we'll do this by the book, all documented, all legal." "How long does an eviction take?" "If they fight it, maybe 3 months. But with your evidence of their behavior, the financial exploitation documented so thoroughly, I don't think it will take that long. Most people leave when they realize you're serious." I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Helen's presence still guiding me, still protecting me. "My initial retainer is $3,000, Patricia said. "That covers the initial filings, the drafting of the lease agreement, and the first phase of eviction proceedings, if necessary." That's fine. She studied me for a moment. Are you sure you want to do this? They are your family. My wife warned me this would happen. I should have listened sooner. Patricia pulled a fee agreement from her drawer. She placed it in front of me with a pen. Then let's get to work. I signed with a steady hand, my signature firm on the bottom line. I slid the document back across her desk. She took it, placed it in a folder, her movements precise and professional. I'll have the lease agreement drafted by next week. We will formally serve notice and see how they respond. I stood up. I shook her hand again. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just beginning. I left her office into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind me with a soft click that felt like one thing ending and something else beginning. The war had officially begun. A week after signing Patricia's retainer, I sat at my bedroom desk reviewing the lease agreement she had emailed me. 3 pages, professionally formatted, dense with legal language. I read every clause twice, then a third time. Rent, $1,500 monthly, payable on the 1st of each month. Payment of 50% of utility costs. Respectful behavior toward the property owner and peaceful enjoyment of the premises. 30-day notice period. If the tenant fails to comply with the established terms. The market rate for a comparable space in the city was closer to $2,200. Patricia had explained the strategy. Make the terms reasonable so no judge could call them punitive. This was not about gouging Samantha. This was about establishing my rights as the property owner and their status as a tenants. I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Helen would approve of this methodical approach. I clicked reply. I typed, "This is perfect. Let's proceed." I hit send without hesitation. Patricia arranged for the official service. April 10th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a woman arrived at my door carrying a leather portfolio. Professional attire, all business. Deborah Klein, Notary Public. Samantha appeared behind me. Who is that? I stepped aside. Let Deborah in. She proceeded to the dining room table, opened her portfolio, pulled out the lease agreement and her notary stamp. Samantha hovered, suspicion radiating from her. "Ma'am, I'm here to serve you with a lease agreement for this property." Deborah's voice held formal weight. "Please read it and sign acknowledging receipt." Samantha snatched the document. Her eyes moved quickly over the first page, her expression darkening with every line. $1,500 a month? Utilities? This is insane. The document outlines the terms of continued residency, Deborah said calmly. You are not obligated to agree, only to acknowledge you have received it. I'm not signing anything. Deborah made a notation on her form. Noted. Service is complete regardless. You have 30 days to respond. Samantha turned to me. What is this? Some kind of joke? It's a lease agreement, legally required. We're your family. This house belongs to us. This house belongs to me. The deed is in my name. You are tenants. Tenants? Tenants? How dare you? Mike came out of the living room. He took the agreement from Samantha's trembling hands. He read it quickly, his face reddening. You're not thinking clearly, Robert. Maybe you need a doctor to evaluate your mental state. My mental state is fine. We'll see what a judge says. Competency hearing. We'll get guardianship. You're welcome to try. He stepped closer, using his height advantage. You have no idea what you're starting, old man. Deborah gathered her materials efficiently, clearly accustomed to hostile situations. She left without ceremony. The door closed behind her with a definitive click. The terms are reasonable, I said into the silence. Below market rate for rent in this neighborhood. We are not paying you rent, Samantha's voice broke. Then you have to leave. Mike's jaw worked. We're not going anywhere. You have 30 days. After that, the decision is no longer yours. I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, sat on the bed for a moment, breathing steadily. Through the walls, Samantha's voice rose in fury. Mike's deeper murmur responded. Mia's higher-pitched tone joined the chorus. I had other moves to make. The bank downtown took 30 minutes to reach. I parked in their garage, took the elevator. I asked to speak to a manager. Mark, in his early 30s, professional demeanor, took me to his office. How can I help you today, Mr. Robert? I slid Samantha's old signature card across his desk. I need her removed from all access to my accounts. Mark typed on his computer. He frowned. She hasn't accessed the account recently, but there was an attempt last week, April 3rd. We denied it because she didn't have the proper ID, but she claimed to be acting on your behalf. I clenched my jaw. April 3rd. The very day I had met with Patricia, Samantha had attempted to empty my accounts while I was securing legal representation. Remove her completely. New passwords, new security questions. I will also flag the account for fraud attempts. Mark made notes. Would you like the documentation of the access attempt? Yes. Print the security log. He did. I added it to my growing folder of evidence. The next morning, I met with Andrew Morales, a probate specialist Patricia had recommended. His office occupied the second floor of a quiet building near the mountain. Andrew reviewed my existing will. Everything to Samantha, drafted 5 years ago, and set it aside. He pulled out new documents. Are you sure about these changes? Completely sure. I initialed every page. 3 beneficiaries: the City Homeless Coalition, the Memory Research Foundation, and the Elder Rights Advocacy Center, organizations doing real good in the world. Samantha would receive nothing. Andrew witnessed my signature, applied his notary seal, sealed the document in an envelope, handed me a copy. Effective immediately, Mr. Robert. Thank you. Back at the house, I avoided the living room where my family congregated. I could hear Samantha on the phone. I know, Mom's attorney might help. I didn't know Helen's family attorney, but I doubted he would take Samantha's side once he understood the situation. Over the next few days, I documented everything. Mike accidentally blocking me in hallways. Samantha checking my mail. I found several pieces opened and refolded, stashed in the kitchen drawer underneath the dish towels, including Patricia's letter detailing the legal strategy. Federal offense, mail tampering. I photographed the violated envelopes, the hiding spot, everything. April 14th, in the evening. I tried to leave my bedroom for dinner. Mike was leaning against the wall, directly outside my door. Excuse me. He didn't move. We need to talk about this rent nonsense. Move, please. He shifted slightly. Not enough. And if I don't, I'll call the police, he laughed. Why? I'm standing in a hallway. He finally moved. But the message was clear. The hallway camera captured everything. His deliberate positioning, his refusal to move, his threatening stance. That same evening, it escalated further. I was making tea in the kitchen when he came in, moving too close, invading my space. When I tried to move around him, he shoved me. Not hard enough to knock me down, but enough to make me stumble against the counter. Watch it, old man. Accidents happen at your age. The back camera captured it perfectly. His hand making contact, my body being displaced by force, his smug smile. I didn't respond. I took my tea to my bedroom, locked the door. At my desk, I compiled everything methodically. Video of Mike blocking my door, video of the shove, clear assault, photos of intercepted mail, bank notifications about Samantha's access attempt. I created a folder. Emergency eviction evidence with organized subfolders. I wrote an email to Patricia detailing every violation. I attached the full folder. Her reply came in minutes. Call me immediately. This changes everything. I called. She answered on the first ring. Robert, the shove is assault. The mail tampering is federal. The attempted bank fraud is elder exploitation. What does this mean? It means we're not waiting 30 days. I'm filing for an emergency eviction based on domestic violence and financial abuse. How soon? Court hearing in 2 weeks. Bring all your evidence. They're going to regret escalating this. April 15th. Another notification from my bank popped into my inbox. Samantha had made a second attempt to access my account, this time claiming I had granted her power of attorney. The bank denied it, flagged it as potential elder fraud. I forwarded the email to Patricia. Subject, escalation, message body, one word, more ammunition. I clicked send. I watched the confirmation pop up. I closed the laptop slowly. Through my bedroom door, Samantha's and Mike's voices rose in an argument, planning their next move, no doubt still believing they held some cards. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I walked into my kitchen and found Samantha sitting at the table with a stranger. A man in a cheap suit, briefcase open, papers spread before him. Samantha's eyes were red-rimmed, crumbled tissues in her fist. She looked up. Dad, this is my lawyer, Mr. Carlson. We need to talk. Robert Carlson stood up, extended his hand. I shook it, but remained standing. Mr. Robert, I've reviewed the lease agreement you served my client. He gestured to a chair. I did not sit. I believe there is room for negotiation. The terms stand. Samantha made pleading gestures from her seat. Carlson looked at her, then at me. Sir, may I speak frankly? I don't expect permission. You are entirely within your rights. The house is titled in your name alone. The terms of the lease are reasonable. Below market rate, in fact. My legal advice to my client is to comply with the agreement, or relocate. Samantha's face crumpled. That can't be right. Tell him he's wrong, Dad. He's not wrong. Carlson snapped his briefcase shut with a decisive sound. Ma'am, your father is the sole property owner of this property. You are not on the deed, nor the mortgage history. There is no claim to adverse possession after only 3 years. Family relationship does not create property rights. But I'm his daughter. I have rights. Not to his property. I'm sorry. Carlson stood up. Mr. Robert, if you'll excuse me. He left quickly, clearly wanting distance from Samantha's escalating hysteria. The moment the door closed, Samantha turned on me. I can't believe you're doing this. Mom would be devastated. Your mother left me a letter. She warned me about you. Samantha froze. What letter? You're lying. She knew exactly who you were. She was right about everything. Her tears stopped as if a switch had been flipped. Her voice hardened. You are going to regret this. She ran into the guest room, slammed the door. I heard her on the phone immediately, voice rising and falling in complaints. Over the next few days, she launched a systematic campaign. She knocked on my bedroom door at noon, transformed into vulnerability, holding tissues, eyes swimming with manufactured tears. Dad, please, I'm not sleeping. I'm developing chest pains. The stress is killing me. She reached for my hand. I kept mine at my side. I gave up so much to be here with you after Mom died. How can you do this to me? I watched her performance with detachment. Helen's letter had immunized me against this manipulation. You have 29 days left. I closed the door. Her sobbing sounded fake even through the wood. Mike's approach was different, more direct, more physical. I tried to leave my bedroom the next morning. He was in the hallway, leaning against the wall, directly across from my door. Not quite blocking it, but close enough that I had to squeeze past. "Excuse me." He didn't move. "We need to talk about this rent nonsense." "Move, please." He shifted his weight, not enough to create passage. "And if I don't?" "I'll call the police." "Why?" "I'm standing in a hallway." His smile held no warmth. "Waiting to use the bathroom. Is that a crime?" He finally moved, but not before forcing me to turn sideways to pass. The hallway camera captured his deliberate positioning, his calculated intimidation. That afternoon, I found my mail in the kitchen drawer again. 3 days' worth, including another letter from Patricia, already opened. My hands shook as I photographed the evidence. Federal mail tampering. I emailed the photos to Patricia immediately. The social pressure came from Mia. She had been posting regularly since the lease was served, creating a narrative of victimhood for her followers. My neighbor, Mr. Thomas, approached me at the mailbox. "Robert, I saw some posts online. Your granddaughter said..." "Well, is everything all right?" "Everything is fine, Thomas." "She made it sound like you were having some kind of episode. Memory issues, maybe?" "I'm establishing rental terms for my property. That is all." His expression showed he didn't entirely believe me. "Sure. Well, if you need anything." He walked away quickly, leaving me alone with my mail. Across the street, Mrs. Peterson saw me. She turned and went inside without her usual wave. Mia's campaign was working. The neighborhood was turning against me based on lies posted on social media. April 14th was when Mike crossed the final line. I was making tea in the kitchen. He walked in, moved too close. When I tried to move around him, he put his hand on my chest and shoved, not hard enough to knock me down, but enough to make me stumble backward against the counter. Enough that I had to grab the edge. "Watch it, old man. Accidents happen at your age." I didn't say anything. I took my tea and left. Behind me, Samantha's voice. "Mike, not in the house." But the camera had captured it all. His hand making clear contact. My body forced backward. His threatening tone. In my bedroom, I sat at my laptop and methodically compiled the evidence. Video clips organized by date and severity. Photos of tampered mail. Screenshots of bank fraud notifications. Mia's social media posts archived. I created a comprehensive timeline document, cross-referencing every incident with the supporting evidence. All organized, all documented, all ready for court. I emailed the complete package to Patricia. Her reply came quickly. "Perfect timing. The emergency hearing is scheduled for May 2nd. 2 weeks away. They won't know what hit them." That same afternoon, another notification arrived from my bank. Samantha had attempted to access my account again, claiming I had granted her power of attorney. The bank denied it, flagged the account, contacted me to verify. I called them immediately, confirmed the attempted fraud, requested the full documentation. They sent it in less than an hour. I forwarded it to Patricia with one word in the message body. "More ammunition." Her reply. "This is textbook elder financial exploitation. Combined with the assault and the mail tampering, we have an overwhelming case. Start mentally packing their belongings. They are finished." I stood by my bedroom window, watching the sun sink toward the western mountains. The city, sprawling below in the amber light. The city where Helen and I had built our life together. Where we had raised Samantha, bought this house, worked and saved and planned for a future we had thought would be peaceful. In the living room, I could hear my family arguing. Samantha's voice sharp with panic, Mike's defensive murmur, Mia complaining about having to move. They still thought they were winning. They still believed their tears and threats and social media posts would force me to capitulate. They had no idea the trap had already closed around them. I touched Helen's necklace through my shirt, felt the warm gold against my skin, and allowed myself the slightest smile. 2 weeks until the hearing. 14 days until justice arrived. I could wait. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a courtroom watching Judge Margaret Stone review documents on her bench. The emergency hearing had arrived. Patricia sat beside me, 2 accordion folders on the table before her. Across the aisle, Samantha huddled with Carlson and Mike, the 3 of them avoiding my gaze. Judge Stone looked up, steel gray hair framing sharp eyes that had clearly seen through countless family disputes. I have reviewed the evidence submitted by Counselor Morales. The video footage is particularly disturbing. Carlson stood up. Your Honor, this is a family dispute. Emotions are running high. Mr. Carlson, assault is assault, regardless of family relationship. Male tampering is a federal offense. The judge's voice cut through his excuse. I am issuing a temporary restraining order. Mr. Thompson will maintain a distance of at least 10 feet from Mr. Robert at all times within the shared residence. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Mike nodded grudgingly, his jaw clenched. The full eviction hearing is scheduled for July 2nd. Mr. Robert is within his rights to establish rental terms, request the eviction from his property. Patricia leaned over to me as we stood up. 2 months, but we're winning. The family returned home that afternoon. The restraining order didn't change anything fundamental. Mike kept his distance physically, but the hostility remained thick as smoke. They refused to pay the $1,500. They ignored every communication from Patricia. They were squatting in my house, gambling that I would give up. In mid-May, I made a decision that surprised even Patricia. I want to sell the house. Silence on the other end of the phone. Robert, that is radical, but strategically brilliant. It removes the asset they are fighting over. Exactly. She recommended Robert Sanders, a real estate agent who handled difficult situations professionally. He arrived on May 20th at 10 o'clock in the morning, carrying a leather portfolio and a digital camera. Mr. Robert, let's see what we're working with. I let him in. He photographed every room, the living room with the family clutter pushed aside, the outdated but functional kitchen, the bedrooms showing wear. He measured with a laser device, took notes on a tablet. Samantha watched from the hallway, arms crossed, suspicious but still not understanding. In the backyard, Robert measured the fence line. Samantha stormed out. Who are you? What are you doing? Robert remained professional. I am a licensed real estate agent conducting a property appraisal. She turned to me in the yard, the color draining from her face. Dad, what is happening? I am selling the house. No, you can't. She surged forward and then stopped, remembering the restraining order applied to Mike, calculating if it applied to her. This house is ours. I grew up here. It's my house. My name on the deed. My decision. Robert finished his measurements, thanked me quietly, left Samantha standing in the yard, looking shell-shocked. The next day he called with his appraisal. The property is in good shape. Some cosmetic updates would help, but it's marketable as is. I'd list it at $380,000. You should expect offers in the $375,000 to $385,000 range within 2 weeks. How fast can we move? List it tomorrow. With the current market, you'll have offers by the weekend. Do it. A week later, Robert returned with a company truck and an assistant. They installed a large sign in the front yard, bright red and white, impossible to ignore. For sale. In bold letters. Robert's photo and phone number underneath. Samantha watched from the living room window, her face contorted with rage and disbelief. Within hours, the listing went live online. My phone buzzed with a notification. Your property is now active on the real estate portal. I showed it to Patricia on a video call. She smiled. Perfect. The first showing happened 3 days later. A young couple, Sarah and Mark, both in their early 30s, walked through uncomfortably. I had retreated to my bedroom, but I could hear them moving through the house. Samantha's family sat still, glaring at the intruders. Mike deliberately sprawled on the sofa, making them feel unwelcome. The young woman's voice came down the hall. Are the current occupants included? Robert's diplomatic reply. The property will be vacant at closing. Despite the hostility, they were interested. Robert called me that night. They're making an offer. $383,000, $2,000 below asking. But they're pre-approved and want a quick closing. Accept it. Are you sure? You don't want a counter for the full price? Speed matters more than $2,000. Accept it. Meanwhile, Samantha made desperate attempts to build a defense. I watched from my window as she approached Mrs. Peterson on the sidewalk. Their voices carried across the lawn. Mrs. Peterson, I need your help. My father is trying to evict us. Can you testify that I've been caring for him? Mrs. Peterson's discomfort was visible, even from a distance. Oh dear, I'm not sure I can do that. You've seen me here. You know I take care of him. Samantha, honey, I've seen you and your family living in his house. I haven't seen much caretaking, if I'm honest. You don't understand the situation. I think I understand it perfectly. Mrs. Peterson walked away quickly. Samantha tried 2 more neighbors with similar results. No one would testify to something they hadn't witnessed. In late May, I met Robert at a coffee shop to finalize the acceptance. He spread the purchase offer onto the small table. Multiple pages of legal documents pointed to signature lines highlighted in yellow. Initial here, here, and here. Sign at the bottom. I picked up his pen, a heavy silver instrument. I initialed 3 pages carefully. I signed my full name on the acceptance page. Robert. My signature was firm, unwavering. Robert countersigned as the agent. He slid the documents into his portfolio. I'll submit this to their agent today. Closing is scheduled for August 15th. We shook hands. As the bright June sun came out, my phone buzzed. A text message from Patricia. July 2nd is 3 weeks away. Are you ready? I wrote back 1 word. Yes. I woke up before dawn on July 2nd. I dressed in the dark suit I had worn at Helen's funeral 3 years before. I straightened my tie in the mirror, seeing my own face. Older now. Harder somehow. I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Felt the warm gold through the fabric. Today was the day. Patricia met me in the courthouse hallway at 9 o'clock. She wore a sharp business suit. She carried those same accordion folders, now even thicker with evidence. We have everything we need, she said. Video evidence, financial records, medical documentation, neighbor witness statements. Samantha arrived moments later with Carlson, Mike, and Mia. We sat on opposite sides of the hallway, not speaking. The silence felt appropriate. At 10 o'clock, we entered the courtroom. Judge Stone took her bench. She reviewed papers briefly, looked up. Counselor Morales, you may proceed. Patricia stood at the podium. A screen had been set up for video presentation. She played the clip of Mike shoving me against the counter. The judge leaned forward, watching intently. This was recorded on April 14th, the day before we filed for emergency measures. She switched to the financial spreadsheet. These are documented loans totaling $18,500 over 3 years, not $1 reimbursed. Then came my medical records. Blood pressure 152/95, documented stress-related symptoms. The doctor's notes indicated the patient reports a hostile home environment. Each piece built an undeniable narrative. Carlson stood up when Patricia finished. He tried to humanize Samantha. "Your Honor, my client has been living in her childhood home. There was an understanding." Judge Stone interrupted. "Was there a written agreement establishing that understanding?" "No. But verbal agreements regarding property occupancy must be formalized. Mr. Robert attempted to do exactly that with the lease agreement. Your client refused." She gestured for him to sit down. "I have heard enough." The courtroom fell silent. "I have reviewed all the evidence presented. The financial exploitation is clear and documented. The video evidence shows a pattern of intimidation and harassment." Judge Stone looked directly at Samantha. "Ma'am, you were given reasonable lease terms. You refused. You were given multiple opportunities to voluntarily vacate. You refused." Samantha's hands clenched the edge of the table. "I am granting the eviction. You have 30 days until August 1st. If you are not out by then, the sheriff will execute the order." Samantha started to cry. Mike stared straight ahead, stunned. Mia reached for her phone before the bailiff cleared his throat. Significantly. Outside the courtroom, Samantha approached me in the hallway. Her face was streaked, mascara running. "Dad, please don't do this. We'll change. We'll pay the rent. It's too late for that. Where are we supposed to go? That is no longer my problem. How can you be so cold? We're your family." I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing Helen's features on her face, but none of Helen's warmth. "You had 3 years after your mother died to act like family. You chose to act like parasites instead." She recoiled as if I had slapped her. Patricia touched my arm. "Robert, we should go." The sale moved forward on its own timeline. In mid-July, a home inspector walked through the house with Sarah and Mark trailing him. Samantha's boxes were already stacked in corners, the reality of departure settling in. The inspector checked the electrical panels, the plumbing, the foundation. The water heater is older. The roof has maybe 5 years left. "Nothing major." Sarah asked me quietly, "Have you lived here long?" 40 years. I built most of the deck myself." Mark smiled. "It's a good house, solid. It deserves a family who appreciates it." Sarah understood what I was not saying. "We'll take really good care of it. That's all I ask." On July 19th, one day before the deadline, a rental truck appeared in the driveway. I stayed in my bedroom, door closed, listening to the sounds of departure. Furniture scraping against the floor, boxes thumping, Samantha's voice giving crisp orders, Mia complaining about the heavy lifting. Neighbors watched from their yards, witnessing the family's exit. A knock on my door. I opened it. Samantha was there, exhausted, defeated, covered in sweat and dust. "Are you happy now? You got what you wanted?" "I didn't want this. You forced me. I will never forgive you." "I don't need your forgiveness. I have Helen's approval. That is enough." Her face hardened. "I hope you're satisfied." "I'm not satisfied, but I am free." She turned away. Minutes later, the truck engine roared to life. I watched from my window as it backed out of the driveway, taking my daughter with it. The house felt different immediately. Lighter. The air moved more freely. I walked through the empty rooms as the sunset light streamed through the windows. Every step echoed. In the living room, deep scratches marked the wood where they had dragged the sofa. The master bedroom had a fist-sized hole in the wall, Mike's anger leaving its mark. The kitchen counter was stained. A cabinet door hung crookedly. I photographed everything with my phone, narrating quietly. July 19th, 6 o'clock in the evening. Documenting condition after occupant's departure. I didn't plan to pursue them for damages. I had already won. But the documentation felt necessary. The final proof of who they really were. Standing in the center of the living room, I held up my phone, showing the trail of destruction. Torn up walls, stained floors, broken fixtures. I didn't feel angry looking at these images. I felt validated. Helen had been right about everything. Her letter had prepared me for this moment, for these people who wore familiar faces but were empty of love. Through the front window, the for sale sign stood in the yard with a red sold sign attached across the top. 4 weeks until closing. 4 weeks until I left this house forever. I touched the necklace one last time, then walked to my bedroom to begin my own move. The stillness was extraordinary. After 3 years of chaos and voices and demands and hostility, the silence felt like a gift. I was free. 3 days after the family left, I sat at my laptop in the empty house, searching real estate listings in a quiet neighborhood. Silence echoed around me. Footsteps, breathing, the click of keys, all amplified by the absence. My packed boxes lined the walls, a life compressed into cardboard. I had set specific search parameters: 2-bedroom condo or apartment, safe neighborhood, under $200,000, starting over at 67 years old, entirely on my own terms. The first property I saw I didn't like. Too modern, all glass and steel, no warmth. The second was on the ground floor, which made me uneasy after years of feeling vulnerable in my own home. Then the real estate agent showed me a second-floor apartment in a quiet complex. It's a 55-plus community, very quiet, very secure. I walked out onto the balcony. Mountain views, evening breeze, other residents my age walking dogs below. The complex had a security gate, cameras, a community room I would probably never use. "Can we make an offer today?" She looked surprised. "Of course. What are you thinking?" "Full asking price, cash, no contingencies." By early August, the purchase was finalized, $195,000. I used Helen's hidden cash and some of the house proceeds. No mortgage. The freedom of that felt extraordinary. I spent a week turning the second bedroom into a workshop. Unpacking power tools still wrapped in factory plastic. I had sold my old equipment years ago when Samantha's needs consumed my time and space. Now I set up a workbench, installed a pegboard for tools, methodically organized storage bins. The table saw, when I tested it, was deeply satisfying, familiar. I selected oak for my first lumber purchase. I started cutting pieces for a shadow box, for Helen's necklace. Sawdust filled the air. For the first time in years, I was creating something instead of managing someone else's chaos. August 15th arrived. Closing day. I met Sarah and Mark at the title company. Insipid office, beige walls, stack of documents. We sat across from each other at the conference table. The title officer explained each document. I signed page after page, my signature automatic after decades of engineering contracts. Sarah slid an envelope across the table. "We wrote you a letter, for later." I accepted it, tucked it into my jacket. Mark handed over a check for the remaining proceeds. The title officer passed the house keys to Sarah and Mark. Sarah's eyes were shining. "Thank you for trusting us with your home. Make it yours now. It's what it needs." I walked out carrying only one box of photos and Helen's necklace. I didn't look back. I drove straight to my new apartment, unpacked my minimal belongings. That evening, I sat on my new sofa in the quiet space that was entirely mine. I opened Sarah's envelope. I read her letter. "We want you to know we understand the sacrifice you made. We will fill it with love and laughter. You gave us more than a house. You gave us a future." I folded it carefully, placed it in my desk drawer, next to Helen's letter. 2 messages of hope from 2 different sources. Meanwhile, I had opened a new bank account at a different institution. I transferred approximately $210,000 after all purchases and expenses. Set up automatic payments for utilities, homeowners association dues, everything organized with the precision I had once applied to engineering projects. For the first time in years, I checked my accounts without anxiety. Without wondering what Samantha had taken or Mike had borrowed, she tried to call me. I saw her name pop up on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. I didn't listen. Another call, another. I opened my settings, scrolled to block contact. Confirmed. A text message from a different number. From Mike. "You owe us. We're family." Block. Another from Mia's number. "Grandpa, please answer." Block. I changed my number the next day, gave it only to Patricia, my doctor, and the complex security office. In late August, a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Samantha was there, looking exhausted, desperate. "Dad, I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk. We made mistakes, but we're family." I backed away silently, sat in my armchair. Her voice continued, muffled through the door. "We're having trouble. We can't afford it. Please, Dad." More knocking. A door opened down the hall. A man's voice. "Ma'am, if you don't leave, I'm calling security. He's my father. He's not answering. You need to leave." Footsteps walking away. Finally, silence. I felt no guilt. I felt free. That night, I stood in my workshop working on the shadow box. Oak with dovetail joints, requiring precision and patience. I applied wood glue carefully, fitted the pieces, clamped them to dry. When it was finished, I mounted Helen's necklace inside. I hung it on my living room wall in a place of honor. The gold caught the lamplight, shining softly. I walked to my window, looked out at the mountains, darkening against the orange sky. Tomorrow was August 28th, 3 years since Helen passed. I had plans for that anniversary. Good plans. Peaceful plans. 2 days before Helen's anniversary, I sat in Patricia Morales' office for the final time. She slid a document across her desk, my newly finalized will. "It's official. Everything goes to the 3 charities. As you specified, your daughter is explicitly excluded with an explanation that she has already received what you deem her fair share during your lifetime." I read the relevant section aloud in a quiet voice. "To my daughter Samantha, I leave nothing, as she has received substantial financial support during my lifetime and has demonstrated through her actions that she values my assets more than our relationship." I initialed every page, signed the 3 copies. Patricia and her legal assistant witnessed. The notary seal was applied. "You are protected," Patricia said. She showed me another document, a medical report from Dr. Sarah Patel, a geriatric specialist. "Samantha attempted to file for guardianship. Claimed you were mentally incompetent to manage your affairs." I was not surprised. I arranged for a comprehensive evaluation. The results: cognitively sharp, physically healthy, fully competent. Her petition was dismissed immediately. I felt vindicated, but not shocked. I had always known I was fine. Samantha was the broken one. Patricia handed me another letter. This arrived from Carlson yesterday, requesting family mediation to repair relations. I read it once. The desperation was transparent. Samantha needed money. She hoped reconciliation could lead to some inheritance. No, I said simply. I'll draft a response declining. The matter is closed. Thank you, Patricia, for everything. She smiled. It was a pleasure, Robert. You deserve justice. August 28th arrived. 3 years exactly since Helen's death. I woke up before dawn in my new apartment. I made coffee in my tiny kitchen. The familiar ritual felt right. I carefully took Helen's necklace out of the shadow box, held it in my palm. The metal was cool. The heart-shaped locket. Perfect. I opened it. The tiny space where her note had been hidden was empty now. But I remembered every word. I sat in my armchair, the necklace in one hand, her letter from my desk drawer in the other. I read it again. Be strong. Live for yourself. I did, Helen. I whispered to the silent room. I am free. The tears came, not of grief, but of release. She had saved me even after death. She had given me permission to choose myself over obligation. You were right about everything. Thank you for not giving up on me. I returned the necklace to its place of honor on the wall where it caught the morning light. That afternoon, I met David at a coffee shop, an old friend from my engineering days, someone I had lost touch with when Samantha's family consumed my life. He was there first, gray hair, warm smile. We shook hands, the gesture turning into a brief hug. I tried calling you a couple of times over the years, David said. Always went to voicemail. I was busy. My daughter and her family moved in after Helen died. Understanding dawned in his expression. Ah, that kind of busy. We talked for 2 hours about Helen, about engineering projects from decades past, about David's grandchildren. Finally, I said, I'm living alone now, by choice. David smiled. Good for you, Robert. That wasn't living before. No, but this is. How about a game of chess next Thursday? Prepare to lose. I accept the challenge. It was the first social commitment I had made for myself in years. That night, I stood in my workshop, working on an oak box. Dovetailed joints, requiring precision and patience. I had built the shadow box for Helen's necklace. This box did not yet have a specific purpose. Maybe I would give it to David. Maybe I would keep it for my own small treasures. It didn't matter. What mattered was that I was making it with my own hands, on my own time, for my own reasons. I applied glue to the last joint, fitted the pieces carefully, ran my hand over the smooth wood, feeling the grain. The satisfaction was deep. As I worked, I thought about the journey. Helen's letter hidden in the necklace, the discovery of her savings, the legal battle, Patricia's expertise, the sale of the house, this new beginning. I didn't feel victorious. I felt balanced. I cleaned my tools methodically, swept up the sawdust, examined the completed box in the light. The joints were perfect. I set it on the workbench, satisfied with my work. I turned off the workshop light and walked into my living room. Helen's necklace glowed softly in the sunset light from the window. The gold caught the last rays of sun, casting tiny reflections on the wall, like stars, like promises kept. I walked to the window, looked out at the mountains, darkening against the orange sky. My phone lay silent on the counter. My number, my contacts, my control. Tomorrow, I would meet David for chess. Next week, I would finish another project in my workshop. The month after that, who knew? The future was unwritten, and for the first time in years, that felt like freedom instead of fear. I touched my shirt where the necklace used to rest against my chest. It was on the wall now. visible, honored. But it was no longer armor. I didn't need armor anymore. I smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile. And I turned toward my kitchen to make dinner. Just for me. Exactly enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thank you for watching.